you. Okay, let's hope I can find it after this. But I was just excited to talk to her. And that was like a mind-blowing moment to me that I was like, I don't want to work with just anybody anymore. It's gotten me where I am in my business, but I'm so excited to start working with people that excite me every single time. And I think if we can be clear in our content, be clear in our messages, our bios, in our conversations, I think we're going to start attracting people who are just so exciting, that we love to serve and we love to build businesses with, and we love to hold each other accountable and accountability groups and all that. So Ashley is a newer coach. Her specialty, I may let her fill you in on that, but it's something to do with social media marketing. Am I right, Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay, she works remote, she travels a lot, she loves the Lord. And we had a conversation last week. It was really crazy. I feel like I can't really skip this part. But last week we were on the beach. I was on vacation. Obviously, I was working a little bit, and there was this day where everybody in my family was at Disney besides my little family because my kids are too little. And I had an opportunity to go to the beach by myself. I'm not really a by myself person, but I was like, I want to go and be by myself, which is very weird for me. And I was there and I prayed kind of like a half-hearted prayer. And I was like, God, this is a really short time that we have to be by myself. But I would like clarity in my business. Like I really need clarity moving forward. And I took a long walk on the beach by myself and I was just thinking and praying and talking to him. And I kid you not, and this is not how God always works, but the next day, Ashley and I had a conversation and she was like, I think you should give this a try. And she gave me a plan for my social media that I was like, that's it. Like that sounds so exciting to me. And I want to keep that up. And I think it could be really helpful and give me a direction. And before I throw it over to her, I also need you to know, before we start talking about this today, that I've been thinking about this since October. Some of you have kind of been with me in this since leadership, whenever we really talked about niche, and at our last retreat in November, we talked a little bit about this. So here's the last thing I want you to hear from me before I throw it to Ashley. This doesn't need to look perfect, okay? At the end of this, if you're like, okay, I have a direction, you need to just act messy, for real. Start throwing things out there, start going in a direction, and you will figure it out. You've got to be willing to look dumb too. I know a lot of you probably follow Lauren Blackledge. We were at leadership together. And if you follow her, you could even scroll back to October after this call and look how many times she's switched directions to try to figure it out for herself. And she finally has. She started with infertility and talking about serving women who are infertile. She did that for like 2 weeks, but she went all in, you guys. She went all in. She changed her bio. Every single post was about it. She was serving to those people. And about 2 weeks later, she's like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. And since then, she's been slowly moving and changing. But the key is you can't figure it out until you act. So I'm going to throw it over to Ashley, and she's going to share with you, and then I'll wrap it up at the end. We can talk questions, all that good stuff. So Ashley, feel free to introduce yourself a little bit better than I did.
Cool. It's so funny that you say some of those things, because for anybody else who's out there who's like struggled with doing things the right way or having to post online like perfectly, like that is me. Like I'm the perfectionist that has let like perfectionism hold myself back from doing so many things, and I've like broken free from a lot of that in the last year. So if there's one thing you get from this, it's please like find a way to emotionally detach yourself from this internet thing where we've got social media and we're posting and we want it to look nice and we are afraid of what other people think about us. Like if you can find a way in your mindset to just like pull back from that a little bit and focus on taking imperfect action. Like if that was one thing you could get from this whole training, it would be to do that, because the internet and social media is really one big experiment right now. We're still in such early phases of it that you really just have to put stuff out there and see what works for you, because what works for me or what works for Paige or anybody else may not be what works for you and what works for your community. So anyway, a little bit about me. I have been in digital marketing for the last 10 years. So long story short, though, the last 7 years, I've been doing a combination of working remotely and traveling and doing digital marketing. And then I went all in for the last 5 years with like one specific client. And then at the beginning of this year, I had gotten tired of being kind of in one location. I had done some traveling and had started Traveler Co., which is my travel community, just behind the scenes, and kind of like randomly but consistently kept posting on that for the last 5 years. But at the beginning of this year, I decided, okay, I'm ready to go back on my own again. I want to be working remotely. I don't want to be tied to a specific location. I want to have control of my time and have control of my income. So for me, like those 3 things were so huge to me, making that shift to go back out in January to start working for myself again. And then I had been following Paige. I've been following you for a while. I can't remember exactly when, but I think it was like maybe last year when I started following you. And so I reached out about April just to connect and find out more about working with Body, because I knew I needed to make some changes in my health. And what I had been doing had not been working. And so I knew I needed to do something different. And so I had been seeing her posting consistently. We connected over travel, coffee, Jesus, and like I knew that she was somebody I could work with. So those things, like those 3 things were really clear in her profile that were like, okay, this is somebody. I had actually done Beachbody before, but whoever I had been working with, like they hadn't been coaching for a while. And then I ended up, I think, under somebody else that I didn't know. And so I just like, I had dropped out of it, but I had seen some people get results, and then I had seen her be really consistent. So I reached out to her because it had been a while since I had done it, and I didn't have any frame of reference for like how to get connected. But she was really clear about travel, Jesus, and coffee and fitness, of course. But so all of that, just like give you a little bit of background about what I do. I've been in digital marketing for a while, not just for being a coach, but now that I am new to coaching and I'm really excited about helping other women. So much of like what I've learned in the digital marketing world really fits in. And I think that we're in such a unique time where you can really build a business online. You can build a business. I don't know how many of you are on Instagram or if you're using other platforms, but a lot of what I do is on Instagram. And it really has never been easier to build a business online. And you can really do that in an authentic way and a natural way, in a way that doesn't take up like all of your time on social media and on Instagram. So I'm just gonna like run through some things, like general things about messaging and branding, and then kind of a little bit of maybe having a funnel in place to like get people where you want to or start those conversations. And then what's been working for me that I've seen specifically on Instagram the last few months, and the things that I've been trying out. So I'm just going to kind of run through all of that. And then if you guys have any questions or anything specific, I'll be glad to like talk about anything else. But number 1, I would say have your profile optimized. And a lot of you may have already had this, but I would say to like constantly be checking and evaluating if that still feels true and resonates with, who you're helping and how you're helping them. So in your top profile, you should be able to, where it says like your name, you can edit that, and you can actually have some things after it that are, you could be like faith, fitness, or whatever it is for you that is kind of your niche. You can optimize that so that people can actually find, and I would have your name in there so people can actually find you if they're searching for you, if they're searching like faith and fitness. And I think too, it's important to have like a clear mission statement. And I don't know if you guys have talked about this specifically, but just when you're thinking about your social media, take some time to really think about like who you're helping, how you're helping them, and like what problem you're helping them to solve. So much of marketing and having clear language around things is being able to like really clearly state like who you're helping, how you're helping them, and like what problem are you helping them to solve. So if you can say that really clearly in your bio, it's a huge help. Like, I help women or whoever do X with X, you're showing like a transformation statement. Basically, you have your own mission statement. That's like what you want to do. I want to help and empower women with tools to be able to work remotely so that they can do the things that God's called them to do. What is that for you? Like, what are you wanting to help women or whoever it is that you feel called to help with? That's your personal mission statement, but translate that into like a transformational statement for your Instagram profile. You help X with X, do X. So that's personal for you. It's going to be different for everybody. And I wouldn't just like go with what you've seen on somebody else's profile. Find something that's an authentic statement for you. And then when people are coming across your profile, they can see that super easily and it's like really clear. And that takes some refining. You may want to adjust it, like Paige was saying, like it may just like get to a point where it doesn't feel like that's where the season that you're in and who you're helping or how you're helping them. So that can absolutely adjust. Like this whole thing is literally an experiment and just changing and trying different things and seeing what works and what feels authentic for you. With that, I would say also, it's really good to have a few things in place in your profile if you can, if you're able to do the link in bio and kind of have a really easy way for people to connect with you. If that's going to be like a Google form, or I don't know if you guys have talked about how you set up different kind of funnels with people, but if I were just to come across your profile, let's say I wanted to connect, I could send you a DM, but it's also really helpful to have another way for me to get connected. Like if you have an email list or if you have it's like an offer for them, something that's kind of a lead magnet, a way that you could get their email address or to get back in touch with them. Although DMs like are really the best way to like build one-on-one connections with people. So a lot of the things that I post on my travel brand are like, just send me a DM, because at this point I have the capacity to respond to people. And there's different ways that you can change that so that you can actually respond to more people or just be able to build a little bit more of a funnel. So you're directing people to a certain thing. If that is your offer with Body, or if it's you want to get them on your email list, or you want to offer them like a couple of free recipes, and maybe that's something you could get their email or exchange, but anything you can do to kind of build out your funnel and have a way for them to connect with you on your profile. So it's like, hey, you could download this, or hey, like check out this. If there's something that they can look at specifically in your link in bio, I think that is a great way for people to not just like go through your Instagram feed, but really like have a point of reference that, okay, this is what they do. And this is, something that can help me in my current situation of where I'm at, if you're looking at it from the perspective of a potential lead. And I think it's another really important thing to have images of success stories of people's transformations. If you're, specifically wanting to help women lose weight or get their time back or whatever it is, have that as clearly as you can, kind of in those maybe top 3 pins on Instagram. If you want to have one telling your story and then one showing a success or a transformation, and maybe that's physical, maybe it's mental, maybe it's spiritual or emotional. It doesn't always have to be the physical portion, but I think depending on what it is you specifically want to help women with, having that transformation and something that's not necessarily you, but how you've helped somebody else through that thing is going to be huge on having it at the top of your profile or somewhere where people can see it really easily. Let me see. I'm gonna take a sip of water. I'm kind of dry. Okay. Another thing that I found helpful to kind of getting content made and getting it made faster is you can obviously take a bunch of clips of yourself, either doing your day-to-day like meal preps, working out, or anything else that you kind of incorporate into your social media like identity, if that's part of who you are, like that's genuine. Like for me, that would be making coffee or traveling. If you can organize these clips in either like a Dropbox or however you can do it in your phone, so that you have kind of B-roll of just really natural clips of your life of these different areas and things that you want to feature in your social media. If you can have those ready and organized, it helps so much. You can make reels so much faster, which is another point that I'm going to get to about trending audio. It just makes it so much easier to like keep up with making reels for trending audio. So if you can have your content kind of organized in a way that you don't have to be making content on the spot, you can get things done so much faster. Because I wasted so much time trying to think of reels, and then let me shoot them, and then this doesn't look right, or I just don't have my hair done today, or whatever excuse you want to make to not get it done or to like take up more of your time, when you really could just be prepping. Like if you're really intentional about how you do your social media, have the content bank like ready to go, and maybe like once a week you just like take clips of yourself throughout your day, like making your breakfast, making your meal, making your coffee, whatever else it is that you're doing your workout. And then you have that ready specifically for reels making. I know like stories is kind of different. You can do that on the fly, but if you're specifically wanting to make reels for things, just making like batch creating that content, maybe like one day a week, and then adding it to your bank of content that you can really easily pull from. I find that having that really organized bank of content helps me get so many more reels and things out than I would have if I was just trying to scroll through my video and my camera roll the whole time. Another thing I would say, when you're messaging, when you're trying to find clarity in your messaging, remember that for your Instagram, like for you using it specifically to help people, you're not the main character. They're the main character. You're the guide. So position yourself as a guide. And Donald Miller talks a lot about this in his marketing and story brand kind of framework. But if I go to somebody else's page and it's all about like them, I get a little bit turned off. Like, it's not that I like, anyway, if you're really like on the internet genuinely trying to help people, make it about them and how you can help them, because you want to come from a place of service and you want to be genuine about it. And I think people will see that. And sometimes that takes a little bit of intention and just being clear in your words. So there's one thing too, I would say, like from a messaging perspective, frame yourself as the guide, not as the main character. And really coming at a lot of your posting from a place of service and how you can help people, not just look at me and look what I'm doing, but also share your story, like share it from a place of like genuine, like this is what I worked through, this is the transformation that I've seen, this is my story. Like own that. Don't be afraid to talk about your story and share what you've been through and share your breakthroughs and things you're struggling with, but from a place of genuinely wanting to help and serve other people, not from a place of like, this is my social media, this is all about me, but from a frame of helping and serving other people. Okay, I think that's kind of, does anybody have any questions specifically about messaging or anything like that? Because then I can move them to like some specific like points about Instagram or but if there's anybody that has any questions specifically about your messaging.
I have a question, but you can ignore it if it goes into somewhere else of what you're going to say. But I'm curious how you worked through in your mind the process of telling me, this is what I see on your page, and this is a really good way to separate it. And like you said, use one audio for this content, use a trending audio for this content. Just the process of looking at your social media and actually saying like, this is my message, because I think so many people, myself included, I'm not much of an overthinker normally, but it's easy to look at your content and be like, gosh, what is my thing? Like I love all of these things, but how do they fit together? It was really helpful for me to have your outsider eye be like, I think for you it was obvious. You didn't really have to think about it much. For me. So how does somebody look at their own content and pull out, this is my message about attracting clients, and this is my message about attracting people to the business. How should they go about doing that for their message?
Yeah. So that's perfect. That kind of segues into the more specific stuff that I want to talk about, because let's see. In a lot of marketing content, you want to kind of think of it as a jab, right hook strategy. So you're giving value, and then you're making an ask, basically. You don't want to be overselling and overly asking people to do something specific or take a certain action or buy something. You want to be setting up your page and your social media so that it provides value to people first, and then you can ask them to buy a product or to, doing a challenge or whatever it is that you're trying to funnel them through. So specifically for what I was talking about with you in that instance, I've found just by experimenting. So I think too, if you're still trying to figure out Instagram, if you don't know what's working, what's not, putting out as much content as you can, as consistently as you can. So not saying you have to meet a certain amount of posts per day, but like figure out what works for you, what you can be consistent about, and then put out content intentionally, like I'm going to do this as an experiment type of way so that I can see what resonates with people and what works and what doesn't. I think some you just have to like put out there and see what's working and what doesn't. And because of specifically my page, my travel page is built around faith and working remotely, I found that trending audios are huge. And there's a lot of like just encouraging, inspiring, like positive, faith-filled audios that do really well. And so I found that's something on my page that I know works really well. I could, if somebody like has an audio of them saying a Bible verse and it's trending, and you can click on it and see if it's trending, if it has that little arrow beside it going up, paired with some clips of travel of different scenes of different places, I can just about guarantee that I know like that post is going to do really well. And so the way I think of it is, if you can find that kind of one type of post for you, and it could be something like that, or it could be something different. You just have to do that experimental phase and see like, okay, these types of reels or whatever type of content do really well. And they're kind of also like the low-lying fruit. They kind of apply to a lot of people, maybe not your specific target audience, but you got to think of it as you're casting a wide net with these kinds of posts. So it's not that you're speaking specifically to your target audience and these kind of posts, but your target audience is included in these types of posts, but they're a little bit more applicable to everybody, have a wider audience, a wider appeal. So for me, for the travel page, it's like those trending audios that are positive, uplifting, faith building, and then paired with travel, clips of travel, they do really well. They appeal to a lot of people. I always get a large reach with them and usually end up getting followers. So I post those really consistently. And then those kind of propel me when I'm posting like specifically to my target audience. So the person that I'm specifically trying to help. So there's kind of this figuring out what works for you, what type of posts are going to do well, and kind of casting a wide net, and then really like reeling in your specific target audience, those types of people. So I would say too, if you can experiment with what kind of posts work really well for you, and then hone in on 2 to 3 specific subjects, and make it really easy for yourself. Decide on 2 or 3 things that you're going to post about, and post about consistently for a month, and see what works and see what doesn't. So have the content that casts like the wider net, and then the content that's specifically for the person that you're looking to connect with. So for me, I post the reels that do better. They get a lot more views, but views are not really what I'm looking for. I'm just utilizing them to connect with the specific people that I'm trying to connect with. So you're going to post those like more viral type of content. Not that you're going for virality, but by going a little bit more broad, you can find more of the people that you're trying to connect directly with. So I look at the those kind of posts as part of my like jab, and then the right hook is are the people that I'm specifically looking for to work remotely, for women who are like really wanting to start working remotely and travel. So I'll do a little bit more of the like I would consider like fluff content that's appealing to everybody, that casts a wider net, and then really like reeling people in with that right hook kind of content that is really specific and really going towards my target audience, if that makes sense. But yeah, so let's see. I already talked jab, right hook. Trending audios are really big right now for Instagram. I find too that if you can find trending audios that are maybe they have a couple hundred reels already, but are not past like 10,000. I mean, you could still use ones that are already that many uses, and they could still work really well for you. But something that I found just specifically, if I can get using them between like a couple hundred views and 10,000, afterwards it kind of gets like, it feels like everybody's using it and you're starting to see it everywhere. So it's not like people just at that point, like once it hits like too many people using it, they kind of turn off it in their mind and it's not as new and interesting for them. So trending audio, having a hook, something like interesting to get their attention at the beginning, whether that's like a sassy saying or like something that makes them think, or like is a neat like transition, something that kind of catches them off guard, and a way to like get their attention. That's really helpful. And then if you want to like give them more information in the caption, just finding a way to get their attention and then hold their attention is a really good strategy for using reels specifically, and not everything has to be reels. Also with reels, you don't have to always be in them, I would say too. Like if that's something that you don't necessarily want to be on camera a lot of times, you don't have to be in them to do that. And I didn't do that for a long time on Traveler Co. But then I felt convicted, like the Lord was calling me to like put your face out there more. And it wasn't an insecurity thing. It was just like I didn't want the community to be about me. And then I just felt convicted about that. I needed to get out there and share my story a little bit more. So I would say too, like, ask yourself, is this an area that God's calling me to like push myself a little bit more and get out of my comfort zone, share my story in front of the camera, and really step into that. Like, I think too, like, I don't know how many of you guys are Christians in here, or if a lot of you are, but like the enemy will do anything he can to allow you to keep the focus on yourself as a way to keep you from doing what God's called you to do. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't want to be on camera or share my story or show up on Instagram, a lot of that is just like the enemy trying to keep the focus on yourself. And if we can keep social media focused on other people and helping them through something or helping them solve a specific problem and not about us, like, we're going to use it so much more productively in our businesses and our calling and in the things that God's called us to do. So all of that to say, like, if there's anything you can get out of what I've been saying, and if you have any specific questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. But position yourself as a guide, not a main character, and really make the focus on helping and serving other people. If you show up on your Instagram or whatever social media platform every day to serve other people, you're going to make those connections. And if you are showing up in your DMs just as much as you're showing up on your posts, you're really people are going to see that. They're going to see that authenticity. They're going to see that you really want to help them. And that's going to speak more volumes than a viral reel or whatever ever could. And so at the end of the day, you don't need to be reaching, thousands and thousands of people. you just need to be focusing on one person at a time. And so there's a lot of like specific things that I could go deeper into if you guys have any specific questions. But anyway, that's what I've learned just from experimenting and working in social media the last several years.
Okay, I have a few things I'm going to follow up with, and if anything sparked in you, Ashley, after a few things I share, I want you to take back over. But truly, you guys, I've been thinking about all of this since October, since leadership. This was like the main thing that we talked about. I can't remember their names, but the guys they brought in wrote that book about niching down and how it's so powerful. And one of the stories that really stuck out to me was one of their clients. Her Instagram name, you can probably look her up, is the Korean vegan. And Haley, I see your comment about like, what makes me unique? And that's something they kind of harped on, because they're like, one of the guys was like really rough and tough. And he was basically talking about how like, you know, it's silly. And that's going to hold you back from thinking that nothing makes you unique, because it's the smallest of things, the smallest parts of you put together that make you unique. So one of their clients is the Korean vegan. And her whole thing on her social media is she is a Korean, she married a vegan, and she could not figure out how to feed her family Korean food because her husband was a vegan. So because of that, she made it her mission to create all of these recipes that are Korean and vegan. So she starts this Instagram page. That's the only thing she shares is Korean vegan recipes. And he's like, the crazy thing about picking your lane and like sticking to it, and also making your lane just like, it's honestly random things about you put together that make you unique. There are plenty of people out there who are Korean. There are plenty of people out there who are vegan, but nobody else put those two unique things together and made a page out of it. And he said the craziest thing about it is when you first start going down a lane, you will repel people, which is a really good thing. You will get lots of people to unfollow you because they're like, I don't care about this. That's going to happen. That's natural. It does not mean it's not working. It means it is working. Then you will repel people who you're actually talking to if you stay in your lane. And then he said the craziest thing is they looked at her data. She has like, I want to say over 1 million followers. You could look her up. But he's like, the percentage of people that are buying her recipes, following her, all of these things that are not Korean and not vegan, like you're not going to just attract people like you the whole time if you stick to it. That's how you'll start. And then people will recognize that you're serving in a certain way, and they could still use it even if they aren't exactly like you. Okay. So when you're thinking about what makes me unique, I don't think you have to think about what makes you unique. There's nothing new under the sun, nothing. If you let that paralyze you, that's going to be the death of your business and your social media. Okay. That's number one. Second thing, to help you like really think about the direction you want to go, you need to think about what body changed most for you. I said this in my live the other day. This is a really good direction for you to head down. Is it mindset? Is it nutrition? Is it fitness? And I think you need to pick a lane there. And I think they can be combined too, because for me, fitness is one of the biggest things that's changed because I've learned a mindset that keeps me going. I hate talking about nutrition with people because it always leads to recipes. I don't want to be the recipe girl. So I'm not really going to put food on my page. And that is something you need to pay attention to. If you love sharing recipes, you should talk about food. If you love talking about nutrition, you should talk about food. I can't explain why. I don't like talking about it. So I don't want that to be on my page because I don't want to have conversations about it. But what I've noticed is if somebody comes to me with a story similar to mine at all about fitness and how they desire to be small or they can't keep it up during the winter, that's so specific. But I want to help people. Like I can help people with that. I know I can. I get so excited about those conversations. And you need to think about what conversation, what question could somebody ask you in your inbox that you'd be like, I cannot wait to get back to you. I am so passionate about this answer. That is your money spot. On the flip side, what do you hate talking about? I get ragey when I post scrambled eggs and somebody asks me for a recipe. No, thank you. Okay. But there are other people who love talking about food and recipes. And if that's you, then you need to hone in on that and talk about food. What conversations, what questions make you ragey? Stay away. What questions excite you to have a conversation? You're like, I know I can help you. You just follow my advice and you will overcome this. That is your lane, okay? And it starts with asking yourself, what has body changed most for me? And then continuing to go down, 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 down. Already, for me, Ashley messaged me, it was like a week ago at this point, and the only thing she mentioned was faith-based audios and fitness clips. So if you go to my page, you'll see I started like that. And then I started to notice my content felt all over the place. So like the things I was writing, the tips I was sharing. So I was like, I need to come in even more. And I've landed on why. And you'll see I've changed my bio. Why should Christian women work out? I think that's going to end up being my niche. That is so specific, and I'm so passionate about it. So passionate. And I can't wait to make this my niche. Well, I'm already starting, because in my conversations, I can solve a Christian Christian woman's problem. If she's not consistently working out, we can get to the root of that problem, and I can help. And that's how I know it's the right niche for me. Okay. Okay, yeah, those are the notes I took to mention after that. So it's going to take a lot of thinking on your part, and a lot of trying, and a lot of getting it wrong on social media before you start to get it right. Ashley, do you have anything else based off of what I said?
No, that was so good. Like, yeah, be willing to like take imperfect action, figure out what works, and experiment. And then, you'll figure out what resonates, what works, what you enjoy talking about, because that's another really important thing. If you're going to have, let's say, a dozen people in your inbox and you're going to be talking to them, like, what do you actually want to talk to them about? So make sure you're posting things that are authentic to you and that you're actually passionate about talking about.
I want to share something else too. My computer, I don't know if you guys can see in my, no, you can't. The new computer I have is like weirdly huge, and it's a real computer, and I'm trying to figure out how to work it. But I want to show you a resource that I've been using since I've switched up my niche, which I'm sure you've heard of AI and ChatGPT, and maybe
That's actually, I was going to talk about that, and I wrote it somewhere. If you're having trouble figuring out ideas or a plan,
let me show you this.
That's ChatGPT.
Can you see it? Can you see it? Okay, so when I started to think about how I want to serve, I want to make sure, and I want you to make sure, that you have actionable things that you're helping people with. So when you're thinking about content, it's like, okay, just like Ashley said, this is not about me. How can I guide somebody through this? So instead of me saying, like, writing this post about myself, I used to struggle to be consistent because all I cared about was being skinny. I am amazing and I've overcome this, and look at me now. I've been working out consistently for 6 years, okay? That is a post I would have made in the past. That is so me focused. That's not inspiring anybody. So my new caption is, do you struggle to keep up workouts through the winter? I have 3 tips for you to make sure you stay moving through the cold months. Okay, that is completely different, because I can still share my story within that some way or another, but I'm making it actionable and flipping it on its head and helping somebody else do what I did, instead of just bragging on myself, which we think bragging on ourselves is going to inspire people, and it does, but you're inspiring people to go get help somewhere else when you talk like that. We have to give them actionable tips to help them so they continue coming to us when they need help. Okay, okay. ChatGPT. So when I start to realize that my niche is helping Christian women figure out a why for being consistent in their health, I go to ChatGPT and I say, can you give me 5 reasons 5 reasons Christian women, I can't even type on this thing, should work out, okay? And I press this. He's gonna think for a second. Look at this. Like, I'm using this to drive my content with actually helpful things. So the other thing I can do is, okay, I look at this and I love number 1. So I really want to hone in on that, and maybe I make this post, which I did make something similar to this. You can go and you'll see my content. I've been using this. I want to know more about number one. Can you tell me more about number one? So it gives me a perfect response, helps me go deeper into the thing I want to teach about. So how can I use this and make it actionable and teach? Yesterday, you guys, my post about making $500 as a fitness affiliate, I came to ChatGPT and I said, how can a Beachbody coach make $500? And it was perfection. It was perfection. It was insane. Also, it's like taught me things. When I was digging into this, some of the things it said about Christian women working out, I was like, okay, God, that's crazy. I've never even thought about that, because this thing helped me like pull that out, and it's helping me. If I have a post that I want to teach from or give tips from, I'm going to ask this to help me if I can't come up with it on my own.
Can I say too, like,
Yeah.
type in there, can you create me a 30-day Instagram plan based on these points? Like, and it'll literally populate a 30-day plan from you that you can work off then, and then go from, if you're like looking for stuff to post with, if you feel like you're stuck somewhere.
It will also create reels for you because I've asked it to do that.
Like, it makes it so easy and actionable.
Look at that, you guys.
I just put this in the chat, or I've been putting some things in the chat, but one, Holly Hillier had a really good podcast, specifically how she uses it for her Beachbody business. So like, if you want to know more, but I can't remember the year, but just a heads up, chat GBT doesn't have the most current information on it. So like, if you say, how does a body coach make $500? If things like change later, there could be some words in there that are not, or some information that's not correct, because it's, I can't remember what the year is, but if you use Google Bard is up to date. So you can use both of them.
Yes, they talked about that at Summit. Okay, watch this one. It can even help you like write in a style that you like. So the other day when I had a reel that I won't say went viral. I don't think 20,000 views is viral, but it was one of my best ones in a long time. And it was a spicy reason Christian couples should work out together. I'm like, Lord, that's the one that's taking off. It makes sense. If you know my story, he would do that. He would make that one go off. But just watch. Give me 10 reasons Christian couples. No, wait. Give me 10 reasons exercise improves Christian sex lives. Okay. I really, thanks, Lord, for giving me such a intimate, fun story. Okay. And then not only this, but I say, can you make this more sassy or spicy? Whatever. Can you make this? One time it gave me, I was asking it to write me something about Christian fitness, and it started, Dear Sisters. I'm like, heck no, ChatGPT. Can we be a little less professional and weird? And it fixed it for me. Confidence is sexy AF. It listens and it redirects and it changes, and it's, God says, thou shalt rock thy body. That's it. But okay, you see, it's fun. It makes it easy to turn them into tips. It makes it easy to turn it into digestible content that helps people, instead of makes it all about you. Because I could tell my story about how this has healed me in a lot of ways and reminded me that I can do hard things, all of that. But instead, I'm like, how can I help other people recognize that fitness can help their marriage, instead of telling them 5 ways that it's helped my marriage? Here's 5 ways it can help your marriage. That is the key, is flipping the content upside down and catching yourself and making sure that all of your content is about serving and helping, rather than saying, look at me. Okay, I'm going to stop the recording.